any of your interviews throughout your career that you wanted to make sure is spotlighted in this book because it's a story you wanted to get out, a backstory you wanted to get out, certainly when there's so many narratives involving many of your interviews throughout the years, Jim?
Well, I think, the decision now, 10 years in the rearview mirror, there's a chapter on that, and we discuss everything that went on with that show and what it looks like now today. Pete Rose, that was 21 years ago. That caused a lot of controversy and agita and tumult, and we go through that. And by the way, after 21 years, about 2.5 weeks ago, for a special on Fox that just aired, I went back and sat down with Pete Rose, and we spoke for an hour. So it was a really interesting conversation and really went well. And so I was glad that Pete did that. So those are two. Obviously, chapter on Tiger Woods, one of the first interviews that he ever did where he predicted his greatness when he was 9 years old. Said, when I grow up, I want to win all the majors and beat all the pros. It became a very famous Nike commercial.
Yes.
So there's just a lot in here that, not necessarily wanting to set any records straight, but just my version of events of what's gone on and what I've learned and what the public can learn through all of these guys, great athletic achievements and their trials and tribulations.
What was more interesting, the conversation you had on camera with Pete or the off-camera one to set up the on-camera, Jim?
Well, here's what happened, Rich. About a year ago, the Cancer Society asked me to come and introduce Mike Tyson, who was being honored. And that same night, Pete Rose was being honored. So Pete walked over to the table, and I said to my wife, Fran, how's this going to go? So
right.
I stood up, and he extended his hand, and he said, Jim, you do a great job. You're really terrific at what you do. And I looked at him, and he said it again. And I said, you really don't mean that, Pete, do you? He said, no, I really do. What happened between us is 20 years ago, and a lot has changed. A lot has gone on. So Mike Tyson stood up because we didn't know what was going to happen. And Pete says to Mike, who do you think would have won that fight between Jim and I? And he said, there's no question, Jim would have killed you. So that broke all the ice, okay? So,
right.
We had a nice conversation, and I just figured, it's been 21 years. The book is coming out. Fox is nice enough to give me a special on the book.
Right.
And I called up Pete, and he said yes right away. Drove over to Las Vegas, and we sat down at the Bellagio Hotel, and we talked about that night. He said, you were just doing your job. I recognized the timing and recognized that, the tone of that from people having a melancholy feeling of seeing Ted Williams and Sandy Koufax and all their heroes,
right.
that, perhaps what I should have done could have taken place at any other time. But on that night, it was actually his Hall of Fame celebration that the fans were giving him. So, we just went through it and, reminisced and spoke about everything that transpired after that.
But Mike Tyson was ready to step in and be your
Mike was ready to step. Yeah,
he was ready to step in on your behalf.
Yeah, because Mike really just kind of guards me everywhere I go, Rich.
Well, then put him on the phone, Jim.
Well, that's not hard. You need Mike on your show?
No. I thought he's right next to you, is what I'm saying.
Right now, no. He's with Kiki training for his fight this weekend.
That's right. Oh my God, isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh,
he's quite a guy, Mike Tyson. There's a
he?
lot more to him. That's the name of the chapter in the book. Much more than the bite.
Much more than the bite. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.